our show, our Sweet Home Africa. Once again, my name is Mrs. Augustina Anyanwu. And help me welcome my friend, Mrs.
Glory Ezema. Welcome back to our Sweet Home Africa. And Happy New Year, everyone. It's a new year and it's a new us and it's a new show. Because
new beginnings.
Exactly. You know, we promised you last year that we're going to start bringing guests and that we will address some of the questions that people have really asked us. A lot of people have called us on the phone. A lot of people have sent so many beautiful comments, even suggestions on some topics that they wanted to hear. So it is our pleasure to answer one of the questions that somebody asked us. It was a beautiful young girl actually that sent us a comment on YouTube and said, can you people discuss the difference between raising children in the Western world and then growing up as children in Africa? So that's what my friend and I will address today. And as mothers, actually, we have children. Between my friend and I, we have 10 children. She has 5, and I have 5. So actually, we're good candidates to address that topic. So once again, let me rephrase our topic is, what is the difference between raising children in the Western world and growing up in Africa as children? And today we have a special guest.
That's right.
A guest, you know that?
I know that.
Very good. Because I know a lot of people have also asked us to bring guests. So today we have a special guest that is coming to the show to help us talk about raising children in diaspora too, because she's a mom too. So without much ado, let's introduce our first guest for the year, Mrs. Florence Chima. Please, with a clap, help me welcome Mrs. Florence.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a seat. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.
How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right. Thank you for accepting our invitation to come.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure.
All right. So let's tell our viewers who our special guest is. Like I said, her name is Mrs. Florence Chima. She was born and raised in Nigeria, but she has lived in diaspora for a long time, just like us. So she's here today to help us with the insights that we usually give you in terms of raising children here and growing up in Africa. So that's why we're here. Okay, without wasting so much time, my dear friend. Well, I'll start with you with question and then we'll ask our guests.
Yes.
Ask
me a question? Okay,
yes,
go ahead. Bring it on.
Exactly. And you know, actually, we've been here for a long time. And then growing up here, we saw a lot of, growing up in Africa actually, there's a lot of culture shock. I mean, in terms of children here, because when you talk to children here, they respond differently, they act differently. So what are the things that you have seen that is different from, children that you've seen here and the ones that you saw when we were in Africa?
Oh, wow. My dear, it's a great difference. I saw so many things that it was a shock to me when I came. In the first place, when it comes to respect. Back home, we address people based on the age. You understand? But over here, majority, when you look at them, the children, they call you by name. And now our children are kind of like caught in between, those that we born here. I think most of the causes is because we live in our own homes, but back home, majority of us live in compound or you live in a yard, where everybody's child's keeper.
Exactly.
They look out for you whether you're there or not. And the teachers thought differently because every action have consequences.
That's true.
That the parents are in support of what the teachers are doing. But over here, it's a different ballgame altogether. You look at it, the children we have here, they might be, they respect you in the house, and due to the custom of where we are in diaspora, the children have a whole lot of, that free hand. They do anything because they don't think discipline. That's what we call it. It doesn't help children. Rather, it makes them, is it like they go down, they pass it hand, they start bullying other children. But back home, we thought that respect, the parents or the adults have to get it, whether you like it or not. They will get it from the children. It's just like a requirement. If you cannot pay a bill and don't do any other thing, at least respect your elders, respect the teachers, respect authority, and if anything happen, it come back to the parents.
That's true.
Then the parents are not going to take it lightly with you. So you even beg an outsider not to come and report you. So that's what I look at it. Raising, growing up in Africa. I'm from Nigeria anyway. Growing up in Nigeria, and what I see here as a mom, you just have to take it easy. So maybe adults have to, talk to children on the level they will understand instead of time out or any other kind of thing that will call discipline back home.
Exactly. I like what you said about discipline. We call it discipline, but here they call it punishment.
Yeah.
So, and because of it, it tie the hands of the parents that sometimes you don't know what to do with the children. So let me ask our dear guest, Florence.
Yes.
So, what are the differences that you have seen? I know you spent a lot of time in Africa before you came over here.
That's right.
So, but now that you're here, you've seen so many children, and then you had your own too. So, what is the difference in terms of how they behave? What are things that you have seen that is different?
I can tell you that there's so much difference. The way we were raised back at home growing up, among our uncles, aunties, cousins, grandmothers, extended
And everyone is
family,
considered your parents. That's
everybody,
true.
yes, everybody knows every other person in the community. And your parents don't have to be there for you to behave. In fact, I can tell you from my own personal experience growing up that there was something I dreaded most. When I do something and somebody tells me, I'm going to tell your mother, I will do anything and everything to make sure I get it correct, whatever I've done. Because my punishment, when my mother comes back, will be worse than what she would have done if she were there when it happened. So they say it takes a community to raise a village.
That's true.
That's right.
That is
When
true.
I got here, my first shock was when somebody was trying to correct a child and she said, you don't talk to, the child said, you don't talk to me like that, you're not my mother. I was in shock that it can happen here. And growing up again, there were things that didn't make sense to me because as a child, I know certain things to be right, but I'm subdued. It's like obey the last command.
That's right.
That's true.
So whatever I'm told to do, that's what I do. Even though I know it's not quite right, but I dare not do otherwise. So there are so many differences. Over here, if you tell the child to do something, first of all, they will ask you, why? Why do I have to do this? So you have to explain. So to avoid all of that, I say, okay, get ready. We are going to church at 9 o'clock. So start now. I don't want to I won't just say get ready because I know the next question that is going to come. Why?
Why do I have to get ready? Okay.
So there are so many differences. As a parent, if you want to raise a child here in this community the way you were raised back at home, I'm sorry, so many things
will go down.
Will go wrong. Yes.
But at the same time, actually, it's not that I'm interrupting you. I like what you brought up in terms of them asking you why. It goes back actually to respect. Because when you respect someone and they give you an instruction, you know what I tell the children? Parents are almost like next to God in terms of, these are parents that God gave you. So as much as you respect God, you're supposed to respect your parents. So most of the time when they ask why, it's almost like they don't understand the role of a parent. They think that you have to explain everything to them.
And that's how they want it.
Exactly, but you know what I've understood? I'm sorry to put it this way. You see, the society makes it very difficult for you to raise your child how you want to raise your child. The TV tells them something different. The teachers tell them something different. They tell them, you are an individual, whatever you say, nobody should tell you the opposite. I think we just have to understand, it goes back to our culture. You see, when we talked about bringing our children together, we have to bring them together, teach them our culture, teach them that, as much as we came from far away, we don't have to copy whatever is negative in a society. We have to copy only the good things.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand. It's not like I'm deviating from the topic. That boils down, like back home I say in the yard, like if you're in the city, people live in the yard, or you live in a compound.
A compound, exactly.
Where everybody's watching everybody. Over here, majority of us, we work. We go to work. Babysitter watch our children. So if they don't ask that why, they don't ask questions, you hush them not to ask questions, they might get in trouble in the hand of a stranger who is obviously maybe not a Nigerian or an African that have a different culture, because too many things go down here. So if they don't ask the why and they don't know what that means, whatever they tell them they do, sometimes, you know, it's like a two-way traffic. I look at it like it's okay for them to ask why, but you don't have to be rude about it, you know. So especially when you're dealing with your parents, so, or your siblings, or even other human beings. You don't have to be rude to anybody, but you're supposed to know. You are entitled to know why somebody wants you to do what they want you to do. Back home, you have your grandmother, you have other people in the yard, your cousins, your uncles. All you have to tell them, I'm going to work, I'll be back. Then they go, they know where to get food. You have a maid in the house, you know, things like that. But over here, you have to take your child to a babysitter. Put them in a harm's way, without even knowing, because you don't run their background check. Because maybe I'm your friend, I take my child here, then because of that you start taking your child, but we don't know what the children have been subjected to. So asking that why without being rude, on top of it, is a different thing. Then when you have to be rude, and I call it ignorant, you want to copy a culture you don't know. Maybe it's working for them, it might not work for you in your compound, in your household. Then that's when I look at it like the person, you know, you got to recognize your own culture or the values you have already, or your parents have already set, without even those unspoken values, that they're there. You know they're there. And you must recognize the presence of those values. So
I have you know, there's something that you brought up that is very important actually, because when we talked about the why, you mentioned that most, you know, families, they take the children to the babysitter. All right, it brings us to something that is very important now that I just remembered, because a lot of us work, and many of us, I'm sorry to put it this way, we're almost like selfish in terms of we want something, but we don't devote time or dedicate time to our children. So instead of working like less hours and be home with the children to help feed them and help nurture them and then teach them the culture and teach them behaviors, a lot of us are just running helter-skelter, working double and double to make money. And as much as we're talking about, I know Western world is very expensive, but it's almost just lifestyle, buying clothes like we said, financial waste and this, just to take care of ourselves and then ignore the children. So that's why sometimes some of them turn out to be very stubborn. So in that case, my dear friend Florence, what are some of the advice that you can give some parents? I know, yes, it's expensive to live in the diaspora. You have to work to pay your bill. But what are you going to tell them in terms of what do they have to do so that they can spend more time at home with the children?
I think it's a question of choice. As much as we want to make, we need money to raise our families, first of all. But how much money do we need? Do we need money at the expense of our children's well-being? That is the question we have to ask ourselves and set our priorities right. I say it's like a buffet, so to say. Back again at home in African Nigeria, there are some things that are good. Back here, there are some teachings that are good. We have to pick which ones we want to teach our children. You have to pick the good ones from Nigeria, pick the good ones from here,
and leave the bad ones alone.
And blend them together.
Thank you.
Okay? You want to work to raise the children, yes, but at what expense? Spend time with the children. Work a little less. Spend quality time with the kids. There was something, one of the kids asked me, Mommy, how much do they pay you at work? When they ask you that question, that means they want your presence, not the money at that moment. So you stay home with them, teach them some things, get to know who your children are, what is important to them, and spend time, quality time, roll on the floor with them, play with them, bake, do something, do homework. Some people leave for work when their kids are still sleeping. They come back, the kids have gone to bed. You don't get to see your children. You make the money, but sometimes you lose the children because your presence is missing.
You're right about that. At the same time, I talk about it like a competition. Most of the time, we compete with ourselves. And sometimes we compete with other people. Or husband and wife even can be in competition.
Yes.
Because they did the same course. You get a job, you need overtime. You get a job, I need overtime. Okay, now what happened to the children?
Thank you.
So some of them is competition because I know that this is 2020. I need that truck, whatever that will come out this 2020.
And the
I'm
iPhone,
going to
the
work.
iPhone 11.
11, no.
iPhone, what about the house?
You
You live in a
you
five-bedroom house.
And
But
you
you
want
don't
a
sleep
bigger
on it.
house.
Yes,
You
you
don't
have a
sleep
big
on it.
house, but you have to work to pay the mortgage. So you are working. You don't have time to sleep
So
in the house.
let me tell our people,
sorry,
another
sorry.
thing, I go to Costco, I go to BJ, anywhere, but we just have to minimize that because frozen food, it's not what they raised us up with. They didn't bring us up with frozen food.
Maybe it's
If
what's affecting
we
the
have
children
to-
too.
If
You
we
never know.
have to
Yes.
be buying frozen food, any other fast food here so that our children can eat like those that are from here, because of our schedule. The children love it. It tastes good.
Yeah.
But we are being selfish. We're not telling the children the actual reasons why they have all those freezer full of frozen food. Because we just want to go to work.
It's convenient.
Yes, they have food. Everywhere there is food. But you didn't cook it. Then the point is that you stop competing with yourself.
Thank you.
Stop mortgaging your children's future, because when they call it, if they don't know the background, they don't know the basics. All they do, they go to school, they go to after school, they come out, they have iPhone, iPad, whatever that is in there that they can distract themselves with. Then you think, we think we need a pat on the back. Oh, I have to pay, you're in private school, I have to pay for it. Did I ask you to put them in a private school? You choose to do that.
Okay.
To me, do not let their happiness or your quality time, don't trade it with that. If you can't do it, let them, just do what you can afford. And make sure that this particular time, you impact in them those things, no matter where you go, because the Bible even says it. Train a child in a way he should go. When he or she grow up, they will not depart from it. So if we are juggling, oh, the American kids, oh, they're these kids, they are your children. It depends on who you want to give them to. So whoever you want to give them to society, society will take them. But if they're your children, call them your children. My child, then your mouth will close. Our child, stop competing with somebody else. Stop competing with yourself. Cut your own coat according to your size and look at those children God bless you with and take care of them. That's all I can say. I don't know what else you want to...
You know, actually, you said it all. You said it all. Because, there's a time for everything. Once the kids are grown, you don't have any other person to raise.
Nobody in the house.
Exactly.
Then we move
Actually,
on.
our kids are grown now.
Then we move on.
Exactly. And then you have time to walk.
You can sleep at
But
work all you want.
Exactly. So the main point is we really have to devote time to the children. Children need to be raised. So that's one of the reasons. That's what we have discovered. The major difference between the children that were raised in Africa and the ones that are raised here. It's just time actually. Because the parents did not take time to stay with the children, teach the children what to do. So the society is training our children in diaspora. That's the main thing. And the TV is training our children. So that's why, exactly. So strangers are training our children. So if we can cut down, just like my friends said, cut down on certain things in terms of even, buying and buying and buying, because at the beginning of this show, remember we talked about financial waste and everything. So if you can cut down on those things, then you work less and have more time to stay home with the children. So that's our point. So my dear Florence, go ahead. There's something that you wanted to, go ahead.
Yes, there's something that I definitely would like to add. Again, we were raised back at home. They give you command, I would say. And it's like, obey the last command. Whatever they tell you without questions, you do. But the kids that we are raising here, again, they will ask you why. So when they begin to ask that question why, it sounds as if they are being disrespectful. But honestly, they are not. When you're giving instructions to the kids to do something, give a complete instruction.
Let them know why.
Give them, you tell them to do this, tell them why you want them to do this. And if they don't do it, this can be the consequence or the result of not doing it this way. If you do it this way, it goes this way. Because it's the way they will ask that question, it sounds like they are being like rude. Let me tell you an example. I took my son to the doctor for a physical exam. And the doctor, after everything, was asking him, you know, do you sleep well at night? Listen, do you sleep well at night? And he paused for a second and he said, doctor? The doctor said yes. He said, define well. That's right. Define well. What do you mean by well? So, but the way, that is a very legitimate question, but the tone, the way he said, he asked the question, makes it seem as if he is rude. So I had to call him and say, listen, that was a very good question, but the way you present it makes a difference. So you frame your question in a way that it sounds like the doctor said, yes, he's in order, but I'm sorry, and he took time to explain to him what I mean by well. So that's something that's, you know, that in that line that I'm trying to talk about. Be there for your children.
That's all.
Cut down on certain things. Don't compete with anybody for anything.
That's right.
There's the good, the bad, and the ugly in every society. Whatever you become is what you choose.
It's just like a computer. You put good
Now,
information in.
now, let me tell you, we've been talking about parenting. Let's talk about the children too. Some of them, no matter what you do, it's not okay.
Oh no, we'll address. This is a very long episode already. We're addressing the
We're going
parents.
to address the children
We're going to
later
address the
because
children.
it's not all about the parents.
But I
The
mean,
children have their own, you know, flaws too.
Yes,
because some of them, no matter what you do.
Exactly. No, that is so true. Because some children, you may have 10 children, all of them raised in the same household, the same room, but there will be that one that will deviate from, you know.
They're also, all child is unique. I mean, every child is
and
unique.
parents, another thing, please, they say we're not too much. When you do something last month, we address it last month. So this month, if the same thing occur, please do not go back. And bring that one of last month and remind them of it. They say we have to talk to them as people they can listen, but for us to be bringing what went on maybe last year, I know we're in a new year now, that one stressed them out. So we're going to do better this year, parents.
Exactly.
All
right, so thank you so much, my friend. Just to cap it all, because actually we talked so much about this and we keep on going around. Because it's very important. I mean, as much as we're getting upset that the children are rude and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, we have to look into ourselves too, to see things that we need to change. Because most of the time when we talk here, we give insight and then we compare it to the life of other people in diaspora. All right, we have other cultures, the ones that I know very well, the Jewish people, what they do with their children, even when they're young, they take them to the libraries. In the morning, you could see, they sit there, read with the children. So when the children grow up, they're always there for them. So when they're taking them to the library, not only are they reading, but they're teaching them the culture, they're teaching them behavior and everything. So that's why sometimes some of us find them to be very polite, but because the parents were there to nurture them. So our point is this: make time, nurture your children, so that they can grow up in a way that at least is good. It doesn't mean that all of them will turn out good, but at least do your best. That's the main thing. So that at least when they grow up, you won't feel guilty and say, how I wish I did this or how I wish I did the other thing. All right? So our point today is be a good mother. I know the children are not behaving the same way that we want them to behave.
And make a time for your children.
Exactly.
All right? While you have time.
Yeah,
it's
a different culture. It's a different culture. And the society is different. So we really have to, you know, be like a hand with our children and then be there so that whatever we teach them can be instilled in them, and then when they grow up they will be exactly what we want them to be. So that's our point today, but I'll let my friends talk if they have more things to say. Go ahead.
And spending time doesn't necessarily have to be involve money.
That's right.
Go to the park and run around, play with them, run. Get a ball, throw it, run. Go to the library, sit down and read a book. Go park the car. You can park the car, take the bus. That's a treat for my
That's right.
my kids. Park the car, take them on a bus ride, on a train ride. Go walk around the city and come back home. Okay.
During the summer, go to the beach.
Exactly.
Those are so inexpensive.
Yeah.
You know.
Get ice cream from the truck, and you'll be, eating and talking and chatting and connect with them.
Buy watermelon.
Exactly.
Those things are so inexpensive.
Very, very.
That they like that quality time.
Yes.
Or you just make out one day a week. You treat them to something. Go somewhere and relax with them. No matter what it is, library, anything. So it doesn't mean that you have to fly somewhere with them. If you have the money, fine.
And take
But
them to Disney World.
whatever you have, let the children feel that love. Because they have to feel it. They see you, they look at you, they know. They know. They can feel it, because love is what you can feel.
Yeah.
Please, parents, let's do better.
Yes.
No matter what we have done last year is last year, so it's not too late.
Yeah.
This is new beginning, as we said, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So thank you so much, our viewers. It's always a pleasure to have you. And like we said, this is the beginning of the year, so we have more episodes that are coming. And we thank everyone that have commented last year. It was such a great year, and most of you, I think we really replied to your comments, and the ones that we have not replied to, we will eventually get to you. So look forward to our other episode at our Sweet Home Africa, and look forward to more guests that we're bringing to the show. So thank you so much for being our viewer today. May God bless you.
And once again, I say thank you so much, and God bless each and every one of you as you continue to subscribe, send us your comments, and forward it to your friends. Please don't be stingy with it. I say thank you and God bless you. Thank you.